The park bench was old, paint peeling under the weak autumn sun.
Daniel sat down with a sigh, the city sounds fading behind the rustle of leaves. Something glinted in the corner, tucked between the wood slats. A phone. It was slim and sleek, surprisingly new-looking compared to the weathered bench. Curiosity piqued, Daniel picked it up. The phone felt cold in his hand, almost clammy. He slipped it into his pocket, an unexpected find to examine later. The park seemed different as Daniel walked back, the familiar paths now holding a strange energy. Reaching his apartment, he locked the door behind him, a new sense of unease settling in. What had he brought home?
The apartment was quiet, the silence broken only by the hum of the refrigerator.
Daniel sat at his kitchen table, the phone laid out before him. It was a strange design, one he hadn't seen before. He pressed the power button. The screen remained dark. He pressed it again, holding it down this time. A faint glow flickered to life, illuminating a logo he didn't recognize. Unfamiliar and unsettling. The phone felt warm now, pulsing in his hand. He swiped the screen, surprised to find it unlocked. A single app was visible, its icon a swirling gray mist. He tapped it, a shiver running down his spine. The screen resolved into a live feed from the phone's camera. It was showing his own reflection, distorted and shadowed.
He stared at the screen, his pulse quickening.
There, behind him, a figure flickered into view. A woman, her features blurred and indistinct. She seemed to be looking right at him, a deep sadness in her eyes. He spun around, heart pounding. The apartment was empty, just him and the phone. Slowly, Daniel lifted the phone again. The woman was still there, her form slightly more solid now. She seemed to be trying to reach towards him, her hand passing through the screen. A chill settled over the room, the air turning thick and cold. The phone was no longer warm. It was icy cold in his grip. The figure in the phone began to appear more frequently. It wasn't just in the camera app anymore. The woman's face would flash across the screen, a ghostly visage superimposed over his text messages, his photos, his games. Her voice, a low, mournful whisper, would sometimes seep out from the phone's speaker. His apartment, once a sanctuary, now felt oppressive. He started noticing things moving, lights flickering. Scratches appeared on the wall, long, jagged marks that weren't there before. The temperature dropped, a constant, unnatural chill that clung to him like a second skin. He was living in a waking nightmare, tethered to the device that held him captive.
Sleep offered no escape.
Nightmares plagued him, visions of the woman from the phone, her eyes filled with a desperate plea.
Whispering, "Help me, please."
Her voice echoed in the darkness, whispering his name, begging for help. The line between dream and reality blurred.
I would wake in a cold sweat, the phone clutched in my hand, its screen glowing with an eerie light.
He tried to get rid of the phone. He threw it in the trash, only to find it back on his bedside table when he woke up. He tried leaving it at a friend's place, but it reappeared in his pocket, cold and buzzing with unseen messages.
The phone was tethered to me, and it was becoming increasingly clear that I couldn't escape its grip. Desperate, Daniel turned to his friend Sarah.
Sarah, a computer whiz with a penchant for the strange and unusual, listened to his story with a skeptical frown. Lines of code scrolled across her screen, gibberish to Daniel. But to Sarah, they were a map to a digital mystery. S3. Size. But when he showed her the phone, her skepticism vanished, replaced by a look of horrified fascination. "There's something here," she said, her voice hushed as she connected the phone to her laptop.
Typing sounds. She worked late into the night. The only sounds the clicking of keys and the low hum of her computer.
Daniel watched, a knot of dread twisting in his stomach. What had he gotten himself into? Sarah's fingers flew across the keyboard, her brow furrowed in concentration.
"I've managed to access a hidden partition on the phone," she said, her voice tight with excitement. "There's a hidden folder here, filled with photos, videos, and..." Diary entries.
The diary entries belonged to a woman named Clara, a woman who had disappeared a year ago, her case still unsolved.
Clicking sounds. Sarah pulled up a news article.
The woman in the article, staring out with haunted eyes, was the same woman Daniel saw in the phone.
Clara's entries spoke of a stalker, of fear, of a desperate attempt to disappear. And then, silence.
The entries stopped abruptly, leaving a chilling void in their wake. The phone vibrated violently in Daniel's hand. Clara's face filled the screen, her eyes wide and pleading.
Help me! She screamed, her voice distorted and full of static. He's coming for me! Don't let him take me again!
The room plunged into darkness. The temperature plummeted, the air thick with a suffocating dread. A shadow coalesced in the corner, taking shape, growing larger, more menacing. The air crackled with unseen energy. Daniel was trapped, the phone a conduit between the world of the living and the terrifying reality that was bleeding through. Sarah shouted something, her words lost in the cacophony of noise. Daniel stumbled back, fear lending him speed. He threw the phone back towards the shadowy figure, a desperate act of self-preservation. The figure lunged, its hand closing around the phone. A blinding flash of light, a deafening roar, and then silence. The apartment was bathed in the soft glow of dawn. The shadows were gone. The air was still. The phone lay on the floor, its screen dark and lifeless. Daniel, shaken but alive, picked it up. He knew what he had to do. He returned to the park, placing the phone back on the bench where he had found it. Maybe there, Clara could find peace. He left, carrying her story with him, a chilling reminder that even in the digital age, some things are better left undisturbed.